Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Welcome back, listeners, to the Mindful Living podcast with your host, Sana. And as you all know, this is the space where we get real about what it actually takes to live awake, not just on autopilot. And speaking of autopilot, today we are diving straight into the engine room of your life, the motherboard, the operating system, and all that, the subconscious mind. And listeners, our guest today has a wild and powerful story. He learned only how to read at 25, lived with anxiety and depression until around 45, then went all in on a spiritual journey. And now he can literally feel his chakras and the energy of people around them. And he has built a program that aims to reduce anxiety in about 3 weeks and put people on a path to eliminate depression over the next 2 years by going straight to the root negative core beliefs. And listeners, he's also willing to share raw personal stories about how he freed himself from painful beliefs. And to be honest, these stories are universal, because every single one of us listeners, we are carrying some old script in the background that keeps telling us we are not enough. So today we are going to ask some very, very important questions. What is the subconscious really doing behind the scenes? Is it possible to reprogram? Can we actually reprogram it? And what is the hype versus what is genuinely healing? So, if you are listening with anxiety sitting in your chest or depression that feels like this heavy blanket you cannot shake, or you are on your spiritual path and you are like, am I fine? Am I crazy? Or is this energy thing real? Or is it all woo woo? You are in the right room, my friend. So, listeners, meet my incredible guest, Mike Wood. Mike, welcome to the Mindful Living, and I'm really, really excited to have you here with us.
Oh, thank you, Sam. I'm so excited to talk to you and your listeners today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Mike, I mean, you learned how to read at 25. You lived with anxiety and depression for about 20 more years after that. Um, like on paper, of course, it is heavy, but then it is easier said than done. So in real life, like when you look back right now, through everything you know about the subconscious, what do you see was actually happening inside you back then?
You know, when you relate it to the reading, um, it was a big deal because the way the subconscious mind works is it creates a negative core belief that you live by until it gets rewritten. You know, most people aren't broken. They're just running off of old subconscious programming that belongs to a younger version of themselves. And I try to teach people now how to rewrite that programming so they can finally find peace and clarity and purpose, maybe for the first time in their lives. Because for me, when I was 45 years old, 48 years old, I kind of went on this journey when I was 45, but about 48 is when I finally started to feel that freedom from a negative core belief that was created when I was 5 years old in kindergarten. And when I realized that I couldn't read at the same level as all my classmates, they were trying to teach me how to spell my name. They were trying how to write Michael, and I couldn't do it. And I realized that my teacher was getting frustrated with me. And at that moment, I got into an elevated emotional state, and clear intention is what got programmed. The clear intention that I had during that emotional state is what got programmed. Well, that what got programmed was that I wasn't as smart as the other kids. I wasn't as good as them. And that stuck with me. It got reaffirmed over the years, there was a lot more moments like that in my childhood as I was growing up in public schools, and that's essentially what I was living with. That moment in 5th grade when I felt stupid, it carried until I was 48 years old. I couldn't get those negative thoughts out of my head that I wasn't, dumb. And those thoughts, they just run on a reel in our heads and we think they're coming from nowhere, or we buy into the fact that they're real. Then we think that those thoughts are us. And they're just not. It's just your subconscious mind trying to protect you. Uh, but at the same time, it's causing you pain. And it's the paradox that we live. But we don't have to live it. And that's what I'm here today to try to help folks understand.
Absolutely. I think, um, often we, like, generally we, treat all these as anomalies, but, everybody has their own unique journey of, kind of rising up, awakening. And I mean, first of all, I really appreciate, Mike, that you shared this with us, because, you know, there are, for generally for people, there are two ends of spectrum here. Either one, this is all fate. It's happening because I did bad or I did good, and that's it. It's fate. And then there's spectrum that, everything is controllable. I can control everything. I can control my actions. I can control my words. I can control myself. I can control my reality and outcomes. But then what happens in that messy middle? I think that is something, uh, we somewhere down the line are all trying to explore. And I mean, I really appreciate that, through your journey, through your experiences, you are helping us understand at the exact root level, the deepest level, that is not something broken, that it has to be fixed.
Yeah, you're definitely not broken. And I thought I was broken, you
Mm.
know, and it's just not true. The subconscious mind is such a powerful thing. We got supercomputers in our hands now. The we got computers that could do everything. We got AI now, and our mind, our subconscious mind, is still more powerful than all of this. We learn how to drive as young adults. We learn how to drive. It takes us about a year, and then we don't think about driving anymore. When we first started driving, it was stressful, and our subconscious mind over time, and this is called auto suggestion. It's another way of programming the subconscious mind. But
Okay.
over time, we learned how to drive. And I don't know how many times I drive home and I don't remember driving home. And I think that's very common for most people when they drive now. It's just on autopilot, unless you've had an accident or something to scare you. Um, we drive home, but we're not unsafe. Our subconscious mind is capable of driving us home. And while our mind is going here or there, or we're talking on the phone, or we're doing other things while we're driving, because the subconscious mind is extremely powerful. And if we teach it how to do something, it's going to take that program and run with it. And one of the things that the subconscious mind is trying to do is to protect us.
Mm.
You take that 5-year-old little boy when I was, when I got into that elevated state, it was trying to protect me from feeling that way ever again. And the reason why I was trying to do that, the same reason, if you take a 2-year-old little kid that's walking along the edge of the pool and it falls in, gets water in its lungs and gets terrified and almost dies. Somebody saves the baby, pulls him out, and gets the water out of its lungs. The subconscious mind is designed to make that a fearful moment and impress upon that child again, to where a week from now or a month from now or a year from now, to recognize that that water is dangerous, to get away from that pool so it doesn't fall in again and drown. That's what it's trying to do. But unfortunately, our brain is protecting us from anything that we identify with. So if you identify with, being a good podcaster, or for me being a good COO of Jared Companies, the company I work for, now all of a sudden the subconscious mind is going to try to protect us from those things that aren't a threat to our life. If somebody calls you a bad podcaster or calls me a bad COO,
Mhm.
body, if we're attached to those things, our body will now try to protect us the same way it'll try to protect that 2-year-old little boy from death. It doesn't know the difference. And and that's where the problem comes because we're our subconscious mind is trying to protect us from things we just don't need protection from.
Absolutely makes sense, Mike. Makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
and I think, these um the way our subconscious kind of, gives those nudges or those reactions, they not only show up in our work, but uh, in relationships and emotions, in a way we talk or communicate or react to adversities. So I think um credit long due.
Yeah. One of the things I have in my program, it's a pretty cool part, and it's I think it's week 6, and it's all about attachments.
Mhm.
And it what I use it with my little boy right now because the rare form of dyslexia that I have is hereditary, and I passed it down to my 2 youngest kids. I have 6 kids, and the 2 youngest have the same problem that I did. Um,
Yeah.
the 11-year-old right now he's struggling still pretty bad, and he goes to a private school,
Yeah.
and now he 2 days ago, he had a kid, actually Monday, so 3 days ago, everybody was being asked to read in the class, and he got called on, and well, he got passed over, excuse me. He got passed over to read because his teachers know that he can't read out loud. And one of the kids sitting next to him and said, "Oh, Tucker doesn't have to read. Oh, that's right. He doesn't know how to read." And it
Yeah.
hurt his feelings, right? And so he we've worked through this because I was dealing with the same problem. And so he basically just raised his hand and asked if he could go to the bathroom. So he didn't get upset and cry. He went to the bathroom and he started box breathing, which calmed him down and got him to where he wasn't emotional. And then we worked through this little problem where he says, "I'm not a good reader or a bad reader. I just read. I'm so much more than a reader." And when he says that out loud, he tells the subconscious mind, reading is not a threat. I don't need to have a physical response. And so it calms his whole system down so he doesn't have that involuntary reaction to somebody saying that he can't read. And then he was able to just go right back into class, sit down, and he had a great day. Now, this has been a lot of work, and he's had to work really hard to be able to get to this point. But I was just so proud as a dad that he was able to manipulate his subconscious mind where it didn't override him, and he had to have a miserable day and carry all that with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because you know, I think that's kind of Mike, do you think that, not only are there any systemic changes that need to happen, if we talk at this, humanity level, around that, how uh, as humans we have to learn to embrace our flaws. We have to learn to respect others, not flaws, not only flaws, but every one of us is unique, different, not taking them as weaknesses or you know from a point of negativity, because right now we are in this kind of manufactured, fabricated world, where people appreciate perfection. We know whether it's your appearances, the way you talk, or the way you look, the way you earn, all the materialistic stuff.
Yeah, I think what you're right, and it makes all of these things even harder, right? Because the subconscious, we're attaching so many things. I like to use the analogy. of a Christmas tree, right? We were all born a tree, but we were cut off from nature and brought in the house. And since we were little children, we started putting decorations on our tree. And now we're a Christmas tree, right? Now we got all these decorations and ornaments all over this tree. And the subconscious mind is going to protect the tree and the ornaments the same way. But in reality, we're just a tree. We're not, those ornaments aren't ours. And so for humanity right now, with all of the social media and everybody's got to live up to this perfection, each time we adopt one of those as one of our ideas and we put that on the tree, whether it's politics or uh, stature with money or things, and I don't have this car, or I didn't go to this school, or whatever it is, as soon as you attach that to your personality, to your ego, or put it on your tree, now the subconscious mind is going to fiercely defend that it like it's your life. It's the reason why religion talks about religion and talks about politics are extremely volatile because people have attached that to who they are. Like they identify as a Christian or a a Muslim or a Buddhist or whatever. And when you do that, now all of a sudden anybody attacks one of those things, it's a personal attack on you, and your body's gonna physically try to defend it without reason. Like, it's just gonna defend it. In reality, we're so much more than any of these things we identify with.
Exactly. And if we can just imagine, like how the scale absolutely gets magnified for a child as little as 2 years or 5 years. When
Yeah.
he or she they feel like this huge weight, that heavy weight. And I'm really happy that you shared this because there are so many, especially kids, even adults out there, still feel that shame to even express what they feel like. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. As I work through all these core beliefs, and I've rewritten probably 200, maybe a little bit more of my own. And as I've done that, it's so liberating and free because now I don't have any of these attachments as I worked through them all and I kind of rewrote and got rid of some of the negative core beliefs that my body was defending, physically defending without me, consciously making that choice to defend it. As you get rid of it, it feels liberating and it feels free. And then as soon as I got to the other side of this, probably 50 in, I started just seeing it everywhere. I could physically, as the mind starts to quiet down because the noise quiets down, in that silence, you could start to realize that, hey, sometimes I don't feel well, but it's not even me. I'm around somebody who doesn't feel well and I'm picking up their energy. And but most people don't realize that until they can get themselves in a almost a chemically induced state of happy because most of us live off of cortisol, which is a chemically induced state of stress. And when you're in that state all the time, you can't tell the difference if somebody around you is feeling bad or not. But when you start to shift into a place where you're feeling good and you're having positive emotions and chemicals running through you, then you start to actually notice what's happening around you with other people. I think there's a lot to be said about the people we keep, and if you're around negative people all day long every day, you're going to feel bad and you won't have any control over it and you won't know why and you'll think it's you. It's there's something wrong with you and there's not. It's you're literally adopting the negative energy from the people around you. And in return, everybody's been around that person who's just so happy all the time, and when you're around them, you feel because it goes that way too. It it's contagious because in my opinion, we're all connected. We're all one. We're living, separate lives, but the reality is we're all connected, and the quieter we get and the quieter we could, uh the quieter our minds become, the more connected we will actually be able to feel. We'll be able to feel and listen and feel those subtle movements of energy between people that you can't perceive, you can't hear, you can't feel when your mind is racing and producing cortisol all day long. But when you get quiet, there's a whole world that opens up to us.
Totally, totally agreed. Totally agreed. And 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 one thing that, really kind of made me think about it, that, especially around people, that um, often we talk about, as you were mentioning, about identities. Like often we have to put up this, mask, um, in order to make sure that we kind of assimilate into that particular um, group or maybe community of people for maybe validation or acceptance, that sometimes deep down we do not feel that safety. But
Yeah.
when we are with maybe someone or people where we are actually our true selves, I think that's the time when we feel the safest in there,
Yeah.
subconscious.
Absolutely. You know, I, I've got a 10-week program and it runs through a lot of things. The first 3 weeks is taking manual control of your brain. It involves meditation, separation from your thoughts, bringing your attention into the present moment. And then the next couple of weeks is learning how to love yourself and kind of diving in, feeling your chakras, realizing you're an energetic being. And then you should start to get into the attachments, removing attachments, forgiving yourself, and then rewriting core beliefs, which is the reason I wrote it. But week number 9 is arguably the most powerful one because you could do all of those things that I just talked about. And if you're not careful, you're still going to be miserable because living an authentic life is literally the most powerful thing that you could do. If you're trying to live your life for your parents, for your siblings, for your spouse, and you're not living the life that you want to be living, then you're going to be miserable no matter what you do. And it's really important to understand. So you bring up a really good point because most people don't understand this, but science is catching up now. Authenticity is the most powerful emotion on the planet. It's 4 times more powerful than love or hate or any of the other emotions that we experience because when we're being honest and true with ourselves, it's not about anybody else. When we're being honest and true to ourselves, that's when we have the most power. That's when our body is healthy and strong and our confidence is unwavering uh, because we're living in a way where our mind doesn't have to second guess who we are and what we're doing right now and whether or not we're telling the truth. When you're telling the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. You just get to be. There's so many beautiful and powerful things about just being authentic and true to yourself. That's that's empowering.
It is, Mike. It is. And before we wrap up, I mean, I know 30 minutes is not enough, but something that, while reading the intro, I really kind of got curious. That feeling the chakras. Now, when we kind of shift the discussion here to chakras, now many people they kind of, would have this instant connection that okay, this is all spiritual stuff, that's all woo-woo, so it doesn't matter to me. But you say that you can feel your chakras. Like what do you mean by that? How does it feel, Mike?
So they're all different, and
Yeah.
I think everybody's gonna have a different response to theirs, but I have fallen in love with my heart chakra. That's my favorite one. Uh, it when it opens up, it feels like I'm being hugged by Mother Teresa. Like, it feels like a hug from grandma. For
Like,
me, it does. Um, but I've also been able to like, if I get a headache, I don't take Tylenol. I'll sit upright in a chair, and I'll put my feet on the ground, and I'll do a grounding meditation, and I'll imagine that red light is coming up from the center of the earth, and I feel it coming up to the bottom of my feet, up my legs, up through my torso, into my head, and then as I exhale, I'll push any negative energy down and out to the back to the center of the earth, And that in 10 minutes of just doing that, which is just a simple grounding meditation for your root chakra, and any headache that I have will be about 90% gone. Y Our chakras is literally what we all think is our brain. All of your memories are all stored in your chakras, all of your feelings, your emotion, what type of person you like sexually, romantically, um, all of that is stored in your chakras. What type of person? Every time you're putting an attachment on, that's all stored in the upper part of your belly, in your solar plexus. We think that our brain is the place that holds all these memories. In reality, your brain is just a like a radio. There's no You could turn a radio on and
Mm.
at any one time there's 200 radio stations playing at the same time. All you have to do to get in touch with them, you got to change the radio station. That's what our mind is. Our chakra centers, all of our energy centers, that's where all of who we are is being stored. And the more you get to know about them, uh, the more you can, actually physically feel them. But when you're feeling things in your life and you're going through things, you'll actually feel them get activated. When you're going through something, you could go to that chakra in a quiet space and it'll help you through it. Um, you could Things can get out of line when all these chakras actually will kind of get woke up at the same level, get
Mhm.
balanced. It it will help you in a lot of different ways. Just mentally, you'll have a little more mental clarity. Just at the basic level of doing a 45-minute chakra balancing session, you'll have more mental clarity in just your daily lives. But most people don't try to experience them if they even know what a chakra is.
Yeah, yeah. And I also think that, when we, whether it's, like exercising, gymming, medication, I think subconsciously we always try to achieve for a perfection there. So I think in pursuit of that perfection, we tend to give up. Okay, this is not working out for me. Maybe it's not even possible for me. Like I'm impossible. So I think
Mm,
that's where the kind of, um uh most important kind of, decisive moment is that, how we can start small. Maybe let's say not 45 minutes, but at least 5 minutes. Okay, let me explore into bed. Let me experiment in here, experience this, then make a decision there, something which I can actually feel or not, is working out for me or not. Because it may work for someone else, it may not work for you. So I think that is the choice, that is the freedom that we all, uh, should have to say.
absolutely. So one of the things that week 4 in my program is you're an energetic being having a human experience, and it really the whole week, the whole purpose is to just journal and to document your experience with guided meditations. And my hope is that they start early or start slow. And like you said, you don't have to start with 40 minutes. If you're going to do a balancing one, I recommend to get at least that much so you got enough time to spend in each chakra. But if you're starting quick, just pick a heart chakra meditation or a root chakra or a third eye meditation. And you could do one of those in 5, 10, 15 minutes. And you should be able to get it to open up. Um, and you can start slow, uh, but it's like running a marathon. If you set out and said, "You know what? I'm gonna run a marathon," it would take it would take you a year, maybe 2 years to go from never running at all and being out of shape to actually being able to run a marathon 2 years from now. It takes practice, and so we're not gonna be good at it at first, but if we try and keep just working at it and celebrate the fact that we did it and we tried, um, it will you'll get to see some pretty cool benefits from it because when you do get locked in to a art chakra and it does open up and you have almost this mystical euphoric feeling, like all of a sudden you get the universe is showing you that, hey, you're headed in the right direction. And maybe chakra meditations is not for you. There's so many meditations that are out there that are life altering. I teach people a pranayama meditation where it lasts for 30 minutes. And the first 15 minutes, you're hyperventilating and all of your anxiety comes up. And with it, somewhere around the 10 to 15-minute mark, it's like going through a cloud. And all of a sudden, when you get to the other side of it, poof, all of your fear and anxiety is gone. And you'll continue on for another 15, 20 minutes and you won't have any fearful thoughts. You can't have any fearful thoughts. It's one of the coolest breathing techniques that I've ever done, and it puts you in an altered state to where you're free of fear for a while. And most people can't ever experience that unless they're drug induced with alcohol or drugs or something. But
Mm.
we're capable of actually doing that to ourselves just by altering our breath.
Absolutely makes sense, Mike. So, Mike, I think our listeners will be so much now eager to get started on this. And if they would like to connect with you, seek more wisdom, and get access to all your resources, your framework, what would be the easiest way?
So to reach out to me at my website, um, learntolovebeingyou.com. And if you're just curious about the whole thing, just set up a quick free call. You can get on a phone call with me for free. We can talk for 10, 20, 30 minutes, and we could talk about what's going on in our life. I could explain the program, um, and we could kind of connect and see, because everybody is different. You know, program is designed to help people in different ways.
Beautiful, beautiful. Listeners, so I'll make sure that all the links are mentioned and present in the show notes. So just check out the same along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And if if something in this episode poked at a sore spot, please take care of yourself after listening. Maybe do box breathing, or maybe take a deep breath, drink some water, maybe write down one core belief that you suspect is running your life, and then ask yourself, who would I be without this sentence? And if you are in a really dark place with anxiety or depression, um, this podcast is not a replacement for professional help. Please reach out to a therapist or a doctor or a trusted support line in your area, because you do not have to climb that mountain alone. And Mike, I couldn't. I mean, I cannot thank you enough, because you have been very honest about your journey, about the decades of anxiety and depression, and the courage it took to face those core beliefs one by one. So I think your story, it gives people a very unpolished kind of hope. Um, because I mean, it can be hard, but it will take time, and we can still change. So thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And thank you to all the listeners for tuning into this episode. If you found value in this conversation, and if you resonate with Mike, please do check out his website and the resources. Connect with him, book a call with him, refer to the show notes, and also share this episode with one person who needs a reminder that they are not their thoughts, not their past, not their subconscious script. I am Sana, and this is Mindful Living.